Hello guys, welcome back to my video. Today we're gonna be doing an MCreator tutorial. So in this MCreator tutorial we're gonna be doing a custom explosion. So what we're gonna be doing is like have an item where you right click and an explosion occurs, and basically that, yeah. But it's not gonna be the vanilla Minecraft explosion. We're gonna be making our own. So yeah, here we go. Let's start. So first of all, we create a new procedure. Let's call it this custom explosion. I don't know what to call it. So custom explosion. Here we go. And here we have an empty procedure. So let's start by one thing. How do we destroy land, also damaging the player at the same time? So usually to damage like mobs, surrounding mobs, you can just do this. You can just for each entity or for each entity except, you could do this and then you calculate the distance between the entity and see if it's in range or not. This works, but you can't destroy land with this, like destroy blocks. So what's a good way to do it is like you can put 3 repeat blocks within each other. This is equivalent to 3 for loops. So we need to identify a radius like for the explosion. So how are we gonna do that? So to get the radius, we create let's create a local variable called radius. Because radius, okay. Within custom variables here, we're gonna drag this out, and instead of like manually giving it the variable like this, like I want the radius of 5 like here, no, we're gonna make this more modular. So you go to advancce, scroll down to number dependency, drag this out and call this explosion, or just let's call this radius. Yes. So basically whenever we want to explode, we can specify the radius of the explosion. Yeah. So why are we repeating here? So what are we repeating right now is basically we're repeating through each and every coordinate block, and then like applying the remove block effect. Basically we remove the block, if like we iterate through the blocks and then we remove them. So let's start like this. So if I go to the generated code viewer, and of course there's nothing right here, let me drag out something and put anything inside. Let me just put anything. Don't do what I do. Okay, I'm just gonna fill these in. As you can see, it just creates 3 for loops within each other, and basically that's it. So it always starts with 0, and then the repeat is like how many times. Like if I type in 100, this updates here 100. So here. So in order to do this, so we take the radius and multiply by 2. Why by 2? Because this by its nature requires diameter and we give it radius, so we need to multiply by 2. So like take this radius thing. Oh wait, this is giving an issue because like I gave it the same name as the dependency. So let me just remove this, because this I actually don't need. I don't need to create a variable. I just did this because why not? We have this variable dependency. What we're gonna do is drag out this and change this to multiply, and we just multiply it by 2. And let's call this diameter. We don't need a radius variable if we're using it here. So here we bring out our diameter custom variable, put this here, and then just add these here. So now we have this. So how are we going to know where to iterate to? So let's see. So let's create a variable, another variable. So let's call this block vector iteration here. Yeah. So this every iteration this variable will be set basically. So what are we gonna do? So let's go to custom variables, drag out the set vector. And then now within this set vector, we calculate what our position should be. So here, make vector. There's this thing called make vector, which creates a vector, and we're gonna make it out of this basically. So if I open the generated code viewer, there's a thing called index 0, index 1, and index 2. We can use that. So what is the index 0, 1, or 2? Basically, it tells you the iteration's value. So if I'm looping like 10 times, right, it tells you the current loop what number it is. So yeah, basically that. So how do we get that? Because it's not here, not in the procedure. So how do we extract code from this? So we just go to advanced, drag out this custom code snippet and type in the name of the variable, index 0. So these are variables. Copy it 3 times, and as you can see, there's 0, 1, and 2. So we do the same thing, 0, 1, and 2. Boom. And now we just copy all 3 like this. We should not do it directly like this, because we need to add these two, add x with this, y with this, and z with this. Okay, let's do that before we make our thing. So we grab this and this. Now we made our additions here. Now if we try to directly add this here, what would happen? So what will happen is that it will the explosion, if we give it a position of 0, 0, 0, for example, just make this simpler. What's gonna do is that explosion is not gonna be at the epicenter of the explosion. Is not gonna be at that position. Instead, it's gonna move aside and make 0, 0, 0 be the very far corner of the explosion. So how do we fix that? So what you're gonna do is grab the radius here, the number dependency radius. Just copy this. Here we have this now. Let's subtract all of these by the radius. So it will move the entire thing by the radius so that it goes down and be in the center. So here we just do this 3 times for all 3. So we have x, y, and z. Boom, here we go. Now let me just right click this and enable external input so that it's more readable. So x is gonna be here, y is gonna be here, and z is gonna be like this. So now we figured out the positions of the blocks, of each of the iterations of the 3D for loop. So now what's next? So now what you're gonna do is calculate the distance between the epicenter and the block vector iteration. So how are we gonna be doing that? So it's gonna be easy. So we just grab this. So there is within this vector tab there is get distance between. So this requires 2 vectors. So let me just grab make vector here. So we're gonna calculate the distance between the vector at the epicenter, which is xyz, and the block vector iteration. Here, boom. So let me put this in a variable so that it's more clear. So let me add a new variable, make this a number, and call this distance. So let's go to custom variable and just put this here and put this here. And wait, don't forget to change this to distance. This is really important. Yeah, you don't want the diameter suddenly to be the distance, and then it just breaks the entire explosion. And here we go. We've made our initial variables. Now how do we destroy the blocks? Simple as that. Really easy. What you're gonna do is first add an if statement here. That's really important. And go to the logic section category and put not. After you put the not, what are you going to do? Go to world procedure, go to data, scroll down, and you will find is world client side. So if it is not client side, it will go and do whatever it's going to do, modify the world. You are not supposed to be doing world modification in client side. This is not good. So we do client not, which makes it if it's not client, so it's obviously the server side. So here we have that. Let's remove the block. So how we're going to be removing the block is go to block procedure actions, and then there is remove block at, and there is replace block, and there is a lot of stuff. There is remove and drop item and whatever. So let's do remove. Let's do remove. So here we're not going to be attaching directly right now, not yet. We calculate the distance, so we need the distance for something. So we add another if and double click on the distance variable, and we're gonna be comparing it. So like if the radius, okay, basically if the distance from the block itself is within the radius, we destroy, because if by nature the 3 for loops within each other are square shaped. So if we add a distance check here, it will turn it into a radial or spherical shape. So here, let me add, where is the radius? So here, number dependency, radius. So if it's less or equal to the radius, it will destroy. Remove block. Boom. That's not the correct location. So what you're gonna do is remove these external input so that it's more readable. And what you do is just drag these out. X vector position, Y vector position, and Z vector position. They're found in vectors, which is beneath math. So here, X, Y, Z. Now what you're gonna put here? So it's basically just the block vector iteration. Just add these. So basically take the location of the block in the iteration, and it will remove that block. Now this removes a sphere of blocks. That's what it does. But what it does not do is delete hurt mobs. It doesn't hurt mobs yet. So let's first see how this works. Let's see. How are we going to test this before we damage the entity? How are we going to test this? Let me just create for now an item. You can use it anywhere you want. Right now I'm gonna do an item. So I'm gonna call this detonator. Here we go. I have a texture here. This thing. Yeah. And when I right click with this item, detonator, right click, it will cause the explosion. So I go to advance and call procedure here, this one. So we drag this in, custom explosion, or whatever you named it. And then as you can see, there's a gearbox. We can add more dependencies because now radius we need to give it the radius. So here, let me type in radius, and we drag in a number thing, and you can give it any radius you like. So like I'm gonna give it 6. So it's gonna be 6 blocks away from the epicenter. It will break that much amount, or the diameter is gonna be like 12. So here, 6 should work. This custom explosion should work. I'm gonna put this in like I don't know, combat. Here we go. Okay, let's see. Now I have this world. Let's go to combat, and we have this detonator here. If I right click, what this would do? Basically, does this. Basically, yeah. So I right click, it will just create a hole everywhere. If I spam right click and move around, it will like create this kind of thing. Yeah, you could do this like to modify the terrain a lot. Like, oh my god, this is insane. Yeah. Anyway, we know this explosion thing works. Right now it doesn't. There's few things missing: damaging, particles, and sound. Let's do that. So let's see here. So let's make this also not only have damage and particles and sound. We're gonna make it more customizable. So what are we going to do is give it more customizability. So I'm gonna add more parameters. So as you can see, I'm gonna add an if between the not client side and here. What you're gonna add is go to advanced logic dependency. I'm gonna call this should destroy blocks. Basically, it will allow us to specify from the detonator if we want to destroy blocks or not. If it is true, it will destroy the blocks. If it is false, it will not. Basically that. So let's create another one. So here, I'm gonna copy this logic dependency, and I'm gonna change the name. You have to change the name. So should damage mobs. Here. Oh, by the way, this kind of explosion is, you have to check for bedrocks or unbreakable blocks. I have not done this here. You could do this through tags or whatever. You can make it a tags of blacklisted entities, and you could here, let me show you. So if I could add an if statement here, if I scroll down and block data, there's this is whatever block is tagged as a block tag as this. Yeah, English is not good. Yeah, so if I do this, if I remove this and then go get block at whatever this coordinate is, and then just make this external, attach this here, and then just copy this exactly. Yeah, and if you put this within like this way and then add a not, what this would do is that if it is not a log type or whatever tag you give it. You can make your own tag for like not allowing bedrock or obsidian. If it notices that, if it is within if any block within this tag is found, it will not break it if you do this. So right now I'm gonna leave it as is. You can keep it if you want. Keep this. You probably need it. You will need it because you don't want to break bedrock. So here, should damage mobs. Let's continue on. Should damage mobs. In order to damage mobs, we basically just do this. We add an if statement again. Here, word procedures data. If I scroll down, does entity exist? Put this in, and then choose living entity if it exists. Let me see. Living entity here. Living entity basically means the player and other mobs. So zombies, skeletons, pigs, cows, all of them are living entities. So if I put the radius as 1, so that I will check only one block, and then change this to be the same as this X position. Oops. Copy this, copy this, and make sure the order is correct. So X, Y, Z. XYZ, not YZX. Anyway, if it is this, we just damage that specific. Deal like any amount of damage you like. You could you could just directly put the distance as the damage. I'm gonna do that actually. Actually no, you should not put the distance directly like this, because as you go further away, the distance increases, so damage increases. We need the opposite. So what do you do here is flip it. In order to flip it, you just like grab the radius and then divide by the distance. Basically that. Also, there's a small teeny tiny issue with this. If by any chance the distance is 0, basically you will die instantly. That's not good. Or near 0. 0 also like may crash the game. So how do you fix that? So let's see. You can drag this out, which is found in flow control, which is basically an inline number of statements. So we can put this here. If this, we can check if the distance is like, let's see, if the distance is less than, let's type in 0.5. like the maximum is 0.5. okay, whatever. So here, if it is less than that, what are we going to do? Is just type in 0.5. If by any chance the distance is less than 0.5 blocks, we said that we just pass in this number. Otherwise, if it is greater, we just give it the distance normally, as usual. So where do we put all of that rubbish calculation? So let's just remove this and put this in here. You could just have your own calculation. I'm just doing this because, yeah, why not? Anyway, we have this. So you just deal this amount of damage from source. You can change the source type. I'm gonna choose explosion. Here, explosion, just explosion. Here we go. Now we've done damaging, but wait, there's an issue here. There's a new thing called event target entity. We don't need that. We don't want that. So we should remove that and instead put our own entity. How are we gonna get that? So as you saw here, does entity exist, right? So basically it checks if an entity exists in this region, but we need to get that entity first. So right now we're only like dealing damage and that's all. So we don't need to save that entity in a variable, so I'm just gonna directly attach it. So actually no, I'm going to save this in a variable so it's like easier to read. So entity iteration, I'm gonna call it like that. You can name it whatever you like. Oh wait, why am I calling this? I'm just gonna use entity iterator. I'm just gonna type in entity iterator if it allows me. Oh, hold on, can it? Does it allow me? Entity iterator. Okay, it allows me. Okay, apparently. Okay. Custom variables, we set entity like this, just like that, and then you just click, if you go to all procedures data and scroll down, you go drag this out, get nearest entity at. Here we go. Remove all of these and just mimic this top part, even including this and this. So put the cube size as 0, or I mean 1, and choose living entity and just copy paste the numbers as like this. Okay, now here we go. We did it. We've done damaging mobs and destroying blocks. Let's add particles and sound. So now let's see. Particles and sound, also you should put this in beneath this, if not client side. All of them should be below that, so that it will show for everybody properly. So here, sound is easy. Just play sound. Make sure to put this correctly here. It should be directly below this. And sound is gonna be explosion. I'm just gonna get the Minecraft explode sound. And the particle, you go to world procedural action, and then spawn 5 server side particles. This kind of particle. Don't choose the other one. There's like client side version. This one, single client side particle. Don't choose that. So here, and this one, you just choose this explosion emitter or normal. I don't remember which one is the correct one. I'm just gonna do explosion normal. So, and as you can see here, you can specify how many you want to spawn. I'm just gonna put 1. Yeah, I'm gonna just put 1. Yeah, and the area at which you want to spawn it, I'm just gonna leave it as 0 so that it stays in one place. 0, 0, 0, and speed also 0, because these don't matter for this one kind of stuff. So this is the correct position, because XYZ now means the epicenter of the explosion. So boom, that's all to make an explosion. A single procedure that does explosion. Okay, now it's complaining because I added 2 new dependencies here. Let's go there and fix that. So it says here the issue is in the detonator because I attached the right click here to it. So let me change this here. You need to go to the detonator, right click if you have copied me exactly, and add 2 more dependencies. If I hover over the dependency numbers, it shows all the dependencies. So should damage mob. Did I do mobs or mobs? I don't remember. It's mobs. Okay, I copy that. What's the other one called? Should damage blocks, I think. Should destroy blocks. Yeah. You should make sure the name is exactly the same thing. Should destroy blocks. Oh wait, it shows at the side. I forgot. Here. So this needs a true or false. So should damage block true, and I'm just gonna leave it both as true, and so that we could test it out properly. So here, let's test it out. So as you can see here, if I right click, there's an explosion. There's a great issue with this one. As you see, there's a bit of stuttering and there's like a really loud explosion that's higher than expected. Yeah, let me fix that, because one idiotic thing I forgot to do, as you can see here, I was doing the explosion and particles within the 3 repeat blocks. So imagine we have the radius is 6. How do you know how many times does this spawn particles and explode at the same time? So since there are 3 layers of repeated blocks, and we know the radius is 6, and we also multiplied by 2, so 12. Diameter is 12. So 12 times 12 times 12. This escalates really quickly high up. So here, it plays the explosion 1728 times, even the particle at the same time. So this is not good. Move this out, put this here. Don't put it, we're not done yet. So we just copy this, bring this down, add an if, put it here, and then drag this inside. Now this will do it only once. Also, I figured out that this is not explosion normal, it should be explosion emitter. Yeah. Here, we figured out what's going on. So basically, you have to be careful with the repeat blocks if you're doing it that way, because if you stack repeat blocks inside each other, it will really slow down the performance. As you saw, there was a half a second stuttering. You should make sure. Yeah, this is the issue. Let's see now. So let's try this again. If I right click, See, now it does not lag. It explodes normally without breaking my ears. So here, boom, explosion, 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 boom, 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 boom. We just spam this until we reach the other side. Here, look at this. We have made another cave system. Anyway, we know this works. So now, let's spice things up for a second. Let's add like a bit of decoration to the blocks. So what are we going to do now? As you saw here, we removed the block. That's it. Only remove block. We could do this so that when it removes at the edge, it could like sometimes place like fire or magma or whatever. Let me show you how. So let's try to do that. So as you can see, there's this remove block. Let's grab in a replace. Let's grab a replace, and let's grab something else. There is another thing we need. So let's also grab place. Yeah. And then what are we going to do here? So there is replace. We're gonna replace the ground with magma block. So magma here, and we're gonna be placing fires on top. So here, these two. I'm gonna put these two in. So first, let me just remove the default XYZ, because this is the location of the epicenter of the explosion, and then just give this instead. So now we have these two. We should increase the Y value of the fire by 1, so that it would offset by 1, and yeah, and also give them like small chance of it happening or whatever. Let's add an AND gate here. So add this equal sign, change this to add, and what this does basically just give it two conditions. If it's both true, it will activate. In the block procedure data, if we scroll down, we check this is valid for valid position for whatever. So I'm gonna copy this, put fire, and we do the same thing again. It's kind of repetitive, but yeah. Let me just remove this, copy this. Here we go. There is one. And what do we put here? Let's add a random chance. So this random thing, this will randomize between 0 and 1, so like 0.5, 0.6, whatever. We grab a logic here, put this in. If it is less or equal to let's give it a 10% chance. So 10% is 0.1. Yeah. 50% chance 0.5. Okay, now we made the fire. We just attach this at the exact same position here. Yeah. Oh wait, I should not do that. Wait, no. We forgot one small step. Change this to less instead of less or equal, and then add an else if, and then drag copy paste this exact thing, and then change this to equal. Yeah. So that it should do it only on the edge of the explosion, instead of it will check instead of checking it for the entire explosion. So here I have this now. Put this inside, and then for this one, how do we do this? So let me just copy this random thing. Also have an if statement for that, and then replace block. So that you will see now. Basically, what this does, as you saw, it will. Before it just removes the block, and then adds a, and then just removes block. Yeah, it just removes block, but now it removes the block, all the blocks. But now at the edge of the explosion, instead of removing the block, it will have a random chance of replacing the block with magma. Also, it will have a random chance of placing fire on top of that, on top of the blocks. So let's try this out. Let's try this again, like this. Okay, of course it does not do anything. Yeah, there's a quite of stupidity here, as you saw. I did distance equal to radius. This is bad. You know why? Because distance could be like 0.123. It's really precise, and both radius and distance. It could be really precise. One or both could be really precise, and would have a really tough time to be exact. So we can't have it exactly the same. So what are we going to do is do this, less or equal. So if it's not less, we do less or equal. And not only that, we're gonna add a -1 to the radius. So basically the explosion destructive amount is reduced by 1 block, but it's fine because you will see decorations and stuff, lava and fire and everything. So if it is not within this amount, radius -1, it will do this basically. Yeah, so we have like a gap. Oh wait, oh, this should not be inside each other. Yeah, it should be like this here. Yes, this is important. Make sure you layer your if statements properly, or else this happens. Yeah, these should be next to each other, not this within that. Don't make sure that. One more thing before we test. This is the last thing, I swear, if there is no bugs. Anyway, I need to add another and make it external so that's clear to read, and bring this all here and then put it back. Now we have an extra and here, space here. We should check if the block here is air. The position at this position is air. It must be air. We don't want fire to spawn within blocks. If I go to world procedure data, there is a specific procedure block here. Is air at this thing? We remove this and put in the same thing as the fire. Here, copy, paste, and copy paste. Yeah, now if I don't do external, this looks like really long thing. I could like do external so it's like more compact. Here, now I have this, boom. Let me just like organize it a bit so like it's clear to read. So I put this up, bring this down here, and boom, here. So basically now 10% chance it would let me increase the chances so that's more likely to happen for both. And here basically 0.25, okay, 25% chance it could happen. It could happen only if the position is valid block for placement for fire, and the position also is air, basically that. So and then it would place it. Now the fire is ready. The fire is ready for all the condition checks. This is really important. Anyway, one last thing for the magma. Now as you can see, the magma is just 25% chance. It could spawn in the air. You don't want that to happen. So to do that, you could just click on this and specifically this one, copy, paste, delete the valid position for fire, and just have this. Now what do you do is just add this 25% chance here, add this here, and go to logic and add a note between the air here. So now 25% chance, if the position is not air, so like solid blocks, it will replace it with magma. You could change not air with like stone blocks only, or dirt blocks, whatever. You could customize this. Like this is a custom explosion tutorial, so you could do it any way you like. So save it. Let me save and test this out now. Let me try to do the explosion here. Here we go. Let's try the 3, 2, 1, go. Here it works. It works now. As you saw, it was perfectly fine. Now as you saw here, magma replaced leaves. If you wanted to only replace dirt blocks or whatever, you could do that. So here it works perfectly fine. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that, our custom explosion. Now let's add mobs and let's test out the damage properly. Let me just spam like husks everywhere, and then use the detonator. So if I right click now, it does an explosion. It does an explosion here. It's not perfect, but it works. You can customize it however you like. So basically that's all for this tutorial. I hope you understood something, and if you want more, press the like button, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.